Okay, this is your market update for Lake Arrowhead Woods. So those are properties that have lake rights in the Lake Arrowhead market. And what I prepared for you here is a report giving you a year-over-year comparison of residential sales activity in the Lake Arrowhead Woods market. So we're contrasting 2023 year-to-date data with the most recent 12-month cycle. And so you have in this chart 2023 activity, summary of 2024, and then the last 12 months. And so the market has experienced sort of a moderate shift, fairly consistent, but there are some important distinctions. Currently, 231 homes sold in the last 12 months versus 250, so down slightly. The big number is 288 active listings. No surprise to anybody. We've seen a swelling of inventory. We've seen more properties come on the market. So that more than doubled from 2023 at 121. So a sign of intensifying competition for sellers. Also, an important statistic for us to look at is the 246 in red in this particular graph, the 246 properties that failed to sell. These are properties that were listed for sale and expired or were withdrawn. That number is up sharply from 176, a notable rise in failed sales. Average sales pace, so in the market area currently, last 12 months, we're looking at 19.3 sales per month, slightly down from 20.8 per month in 2023. Year to date 2025, to give you a general sense of where we are currently, 75 homes sold, slightly ahead of the same period in 2024. I think we had 73. While buyer activity has remained fairly consistent, the jump in inventory and non-performing listings highlights a growing disconnect between seller expectations and actual market behavior. This is often the result of overpricing. In most instances, it has to do with price or lackluster presentation or both. So it could be price and then not having the right representation. We have a tremendous amount of out-of-area brokers who are in the market that list properties, and we see a high percentage of the failed listings are from that demographic because they're just not here to take care of business. Buyers are still engaged, but they're more selective than ever, favoring homes that offer both value and visual appeal. If you look here, you've got underneath the green for sale number, it shows that you've got 16 months of inventory. We gauge the market, whether it's a buyer or seller market, based on the number of months of inventory that are currently available. And if you look back in 2023, you had 5.8 months of inventory, which was a balanced market. We typically call right around 6 months of inventory a balanced market between buyer and seller. You can see that went to 8.4 in 2024, and then sharply to 16 months, doubled in in the last 12 months. Excuse me. So, and we are seeing more and more inventory come on the market, which is creating a slant towards the buyer's side, much more competition for sellers, and those numbers in the red column, the 246, I would expect that we would probably see those numbers surge even further. The next couple pages, this is a comparison between 2023 versus 2024. And in 2023, the average days on market was 110, with a average closed sales price of 984. And then if you look at 2024, the number went up to 123. So from 110 to 123. Homes that are, the bottom line is homes are taking longer to sell and buyers are in no rush to commit. Sellers who respond quickly to the market signals are far more likely to attract attention and secure offers. So sellers need to be paying attention. Many agents are not paying attention. They don't quite understand what's really going on in the market. They're just seeing that there's no activity. Well, there still is about the same amount of activity as we've had for the last year. We're just seeing a lot more competition, which is things are slowing down. So those sellers that don't want to face longer market times, multiple price reductions, and the dreaded buyer question, why has it been sitting so long, need to make those adjustments, need to take a look at where they need to be in order to be competitive. Page 4 and 5 of the report give you the buyer patterns. So what you'll notice here is fairly consistent sales over the last 12 months. As I mentioned before, 2025 year to date, if you compare that to 2024, 75 sales currently so far year to date through the end of May, and 73 from last year's numbers. You'll notice for many years, actually going back 30 years, we always had a phenomenon where we had many more sales in the second half of the year than we did the first half of the year. And that sort of went away. I mean, that we really didn't see that distinction so much, but that seems that that's back. If you take a look at this, these two graphs will show you that from June on, in the last two cycles, you saw more activity in the fall months and the second half of the month. And we usually attribute that to, people come up, they spend time with family during the summer months, they enjoy the lake, and then they get the kids put back in school in August time, then they come back and buy. That's typically what the cycle has been. And that has gone away for a few years, but it seems that that's back. Couple other value metrics that I'd like to provide to you just as comparisons to illustrate a couple things. Median price per foot. We don't give a lot of merit to dollar per foot pricing because there's so many unique features and differences with regard to properties in Lake Arrowhead and on the mountain in general. But it is a good thing that we look at. And so median price per square foot in 2025, that's year to date, the last 5 months, $362.84 a foot versus slightly higher in 2024 to $376.60. So what that indicates to me, in most instances, when you look at dollar per foot, that indicates how much appreciation that we're seeing in the market. And so from 2024 average to 2025, we saw a slight decrease, not huge, whatever that is, $14 per foot, something like that, but certainly isn't an increase. And so sellers need to understand that there's pressure on price and the prices need to be as aggressive as possible. Speaking to median sales price, so that's the median, the middle property within the market, what it sold for. So just as many above this number as below it. In 2025 year to date, the first 5 months, the number is 670. The number in 2024 was 701. So again, slightly down, $30,000 in that range. But what that's telling us is that there's pressure to push prices towards the lower end of the market. Highest sale, good news, $6 million in 2020. So far this year, we've sold one at $6 million versus $6.4 million in 2024. And then the lowest sale in 2025 in the woods with lake rights was $272 for the first 5 months, with the lowest sales price at $250 in 2024. The last thing that I want to talk about this morning is about some of the conversations that I'm having with sellers. So many sellers facing this growing competition, the market slowdown. Their answer and what they're expressing is a willingness to, quote, wait it out. They're just going to wait for it until they get their price. While that may be possible in theory, the data tells a cautionary tale. You need to be very careful with that thinking. In 2024, more listings in Arrowhead Woods expired unsold than successfully closed. That's illustrated in this graph. You can see 246 actually did not sell. They were listed and didn't sell. 231 actually sold. So you had less properties sell. What that tells you is that waiting in the market doesn't always guarantee the best outcome. Okay, that doesn't mean that you're going to sell your property for that higher number. Even under an optimistic scenario of 4% appreciation, which, as I just showed you, there was no appreciation in the last year. But if we assume that there is going to be, on average in Lake Arrowhead, we look at about a 4% number as appreciation. It could take up to six years for a $700,000 home to catch up. Okay, in other words, for them to the value to organically grow. And the thing that sellers forget is that they need to factor in their carrying costs. They're carrying that property. If they hold on to that property for 6 years to get their price, to get their number, if you factor in a 7% annual carrying cost, which is average, okay, it could be slightly lower, slightly higher, but if you factor in 7% annual carrying costs, the expenses over that 6-year period would exceed $387,000, a huge number. It compounds significantly, resulting in approximately a net loss of $210,000. So here's an example where a seller, by waiting to try and get their number, if they're lucky enough to sell, what they're going to end up netting at the end of that 6-year period is $210,000 less than what they would have had they priced the property accordingly. So obviously, as I said, there's room to refine those figures, but the message is clear. Waiting is not free, and the cost of delay can far outweigh the benefit of getting a higher sales price down the road. This is your market update. I will be preparing market updates for the other areas within our market area. This is strictly for Arrowhead Woods. If you have any questions on any of this data, please reach out to me. Please call me at the office or contact me on my cell, 909-744-7690. I'm happy to be a resource to you, to provide you information regarding where the Lake Arrowhead market or the mountain real estate market in general is at any given time. Thank you for listening. Have a great one.